So we have, who is a wind turbine technician? And I have here, wind turbine technician installs, inspects, maintains, repairs wind turbine generators to ensure proper electrical, mechanical installation and maintenance is completed. As mentioned in there, the wind turbine technician has a crucial role of keeping the power plant running. So essentially, a wind turbine farm is a big power plant. It could be very similar to a coal generation plant, or a natural gas power plant, or even a nuclear plant. They're all basis on the same thing. Wind turbines, they harness that wind to create that electricity, versus combustion engines and natural gas would create that energy, like a small generator that you'd have for a home household. A wind turbine is the same thing, but it uses the rotation from wind. Right now, technicians have to keep about 3.3 million homes lit during production season in the wind industry. So that's a pretty substantial amount of households in Canada. That would be about 10% of the Canadian households. So it's quite a bit. Want to add anything there?
No, it's a good synopsis there. I think you really touched on how varying all the tasks that we're going to be doing to generate that power is.
So what a wind turbine technician does, many different possible roles that you can go into from this program. You can go in automation, mechanical, and we'll talk about that in a little bit in the next slide. But the main role of a wind turbine technician is to keep the turbines running all the time. Not just running, but as efficiently as possible. They can run, but they could be maybe not producing the electricity they should be for households or industrial plants. So you have to make sure that you're doing really good inspections on them, making sure that you find problems with it prior to it failing. You need to have really strong electrical skills. You need to have strong mechanical skills to be a technician. There are multiple things that you're going to be working in the turbine, not just one specific role. With that, technicians have to climb, or if you get lucky, there may be a man lift that you get to go in. It's very similar to an elevator that brings you up to the top, but you do have to be physically fit. I'm sure Mike can touch on that in a second, but I know when I was working in the industry, you're climbing or you're working for 8 to 12 hours a day, depending on the day. They are long days sometimes. There's lots of work in the industry, so you do have to be healthy and physically fit for the job. Now, when you're looking at working on the towers, you could be working on simple things like small electronics that you have to replace or troubleshoot, or you could be replacing major components like generators or massive gearboxes that are the size of a small car. So there could be any potential of what you're doing on the turbine, but essentially you're going in there making sure that everything is working out well and maintained properly. And
yeah, it's like you said, it's one of my favorite parts about my job is I can be physically active every single day. I don't necessarily have to have a gym membership because I can, climb. We're 77 meters to my nacelle, so it is quite a long climb. But as you mentioned, I'm one of the lucky ones. We do have man lifts in our turbines, so I can take a nice ride up there. But when you get up there, it's pretty physical work. For example, just this week I was replacing a electric pitch motor. So the motor that's involved in making the blade turn in and out of the wind to capture more or less of the wind. And that motor itself, it's got to be 100 and something pounds. I never weighed the thing, but I can tell you it's pretty heavy when you have to get it into place. So.
Awesome. So that was a little bit of a wind technician, and you guys can talk or ask any questions about what different opportunities you can be as a technician. On this slide here, I have different basically pathways that you're going to go into from where we are as a graduate in the college. When you graduate, typically as a wind turbine technician specifically, there are 3 options, and most of the time you'll have your original equipment manufacturers. Those are the OEMs. So like if you were to refer that to a vehicle, you're thinking of GM, Dodge, Chrysler. They manufacture that product. You could be working for them as a wind turbine technician. So Enercon, for instance, is one. Siemens Gamesa, Vestas, all those companies are manufacturers. So that's one route to take, and that's what Mike went into so far, is working for the OEM. Other opportunities are owners. When you work for the owner, they've purchased or invested in the product, and they've decided that they're going to be working on their own and providing maintenances on their own outside of the original manufacturer or contractors. So you could be working directly for the owner. The third way of going around is independent service providers. So a lot of them you would just call as a contractor. They'll come in and work under either the Enercon, under the owner, or they may take on the whole project themselves and they service that product themselves. So there's three different kind of opportunities, and all three provide different opportunities within the industry itself. And below that flow chart, I have like home-based wind technician. That would be somebody that's based in a certain location and doesn't travel. So they would be, for Mike, you're in Kincardine or close to Kincardine. You are primarily working on that specific site, and with a minimal amount of travel. You do have some sites you have to travel to for
yes, I gotta go to Manitoulin Island from Kincardine, so that's my longest travel.
Yeah, so it's a small travel, but you're based in a home site. Other opportunities of for different ways would be a travel technician. So the same kind of role as what Mike's doing, but you're going from site to site to site to site and doing services and different maintenances on the turbines. This could be from different products. You could be going from one Enercon turbine to a Gamesa Siemens turbine. You could be going to a Vestas turbine. You could be doing a bunch of different sites, traveling, and your company would be paying for those expenses as you travel. So you'd be staying up in the hotels. You might be provided a certain amount of money a day to find your own accommodations, and you typically have some type of travel vehicle that you'd be having. So it's very lucrative for that type of position. So you could make a lot of money in a short period of time traveling around as a travel technician. That being said, there can be some long days as travel technicians, and at some point in time, you may want to turn into a home-based technician. Other roles you can go into are blade wind turbine technicians. That's a completely different specialization. There's tons of work for blade repair. So we're talking about inspections on blades, composite repairs for major, minor, and moderate damages. You'd be working inside and outside of the blade, either off of a platform or rope access, depending on the company you work for. Some people love that work, and some people would rather be a technician working in the tower. And then the last type of real main role that you can go into is a project technician, and that is when you'd be traveling from project to project as they get developed for the first time. You'd be erecting all of the towers, the nacelle, like all the major components have to be put together during a project, and that's another main role that you can fall into. All of these roles are all transferable. You could be a project technician for maybe one year, and then you realize, this traveling is fun, but I'd really like to be a home-based kind of guy now. I want to start a family. Then that's when you would be into just a home-based wind technician, working for an OEM, an owner, or even an independent service provider. Do you want to touch on a few of those, or?
Yeah, and it goes both ways too, right? You can start off as a home technician, and I have a colleague who graduated the same year as me, who's now starting to specialize in blades. So he's working with Vestas, and he's going to learn about how to repair and maintain the blades. So he's going to transition into a travel technician. And as Ryan was mentioning, there's a very lucrative opportunities when it comes to training. You can really start to see different avenues for your income there. Not only are you getting paid for the work that you're doing, but you're getting paid on a daily basis for your living. And if you learn how to live cheap, you can actually save some money there too. So it's the opportunities are pretty fantastic there.
And even as a home-based technician, it's not, you do graduate coming out quite well as a home-based technician the first year.
Yeah, fantastic. I personally, I don't want to sound like I'm bragging or anything, but I was able to erase all my student debt within the first 6 months of working with Enercon. So it's been fantastic for me.
That's awesome. So a couple quick facts about the program. We could go on and on and on about all the learning outcomes that you'd be able to achieve through the program. I'm just going to touch on a few. I just want to make sure that you know that's a 2-year program. It's 4 semesters, so 2 semesters in each year. September typically all the way till the end of April is your semester. Look for the 1 year. You do need to have a college diploma, or sorry, high school secondary diploma, English grade 12 college level, and English grade 12, math and English high school grade 12 is what you're going to need for enrollment. You can get your grade 12 math through other pathways if you don't have that currently. Different things that you'll be learning. I just have a few lists here. We didn't go too extensive on it, but just so you have an idea, how to prepare, install, maintain, and repair electrical systems in a multitude of scenarios. So that could be anything from converter systems, so your filtering systems in the base of the tower, how that electricity gets cleaned up to go out into the grid or your hydro lines. And then you also have to install the electrical generation systems up in the nacelle as well. How to assemble, analyze, and appropriately apply engineering data from graphics, reports, and documents. You are going to be doing a lot of reporting with a wind turbine technician. It is a generation plant. Everything has to be well documented, well established. Everything has to be proven and made sure that you're doing the right job, the correct job, and it's been recorded properly so we can see what happened even a year from now, what we worked on in that tower. So those types of things you really have to make sure that you're strong in. How to recognize environmental, economic, legal, and ethical implications of wind energy plants. There are lots of environmental implications that are within a wind turbine. You probably have heard of some of them if you've been interested in wind at any point in time. Over environmentals for birds and bats and different types of wildlife. Legal and ethical implications. You do have pro-wind participants or public coming to you and talking to you about how wind is really good and great for climate change and so green. But then you also have the protesters that don't like wind and don't like the looks of them, or say they cause these health impacts that may or may not be remotely true or not. So you do have to learn a little bit about that during your time here to make sure that when you graduate, you have this little bit of a knowledge to know that, hey, like wind turbines are not that bad. These are the real facts, and you can kind of like talk to some of the public about that and have a meaningful discussion about it. How to apply safety procedures and use personal protective equipment is extremely important. Climbing at, you said 77 meters, so that's about 250, so it's a little bit of a shorter turbine. Mm-hmm. But the new turbines out there now, you are 300-400 feet in the air every day, hoisting up equipment outside or inside the tower, working on the tower sections, the ladders. You are up in the air, you're working with voltage, higher voltages, possibly even high, like 750 volts plus sometimes, as well as high pressure. There's lots of dangers if you're not aware of these hazards, and that's where we always have to have making sure that you know different types of safety procedures, how to use them, what is personal protective equipment, so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. How wind energy basics work, of course, that's kind of a given. It is a wind turbine technician role. We aren't going into the engineering too far into it, but we do want you to understand how the energy is harnessed into electricity. And then how the fundamentals of a wind turbine generator work, including mechanics, electrotechnology, hydraulics, maintenance, assembly, and disassembly of wind turbines. We want you to have a good fundamental base, so when you get hired on, the company will be like, wow, he's doing really good. Maybe we can put him into the first training cycle already. Like, that's quick. Which typically happens with our college grads. They normally excel in different levels. So as a technician, you normally go from like a level 1 to a level 2 or 3, depending on how much experience you've had, how well you're doing in the field, and so on and so forth. And I don't know how Enercon's structure works, but is it similar to that?
It is very similar. We do have levels of technician, and it kind of all is based on what training that they afford you and exactly how well that you've been doing. And that's one thing that I really have been blessed with coming out of this program is how varying the knowledge that we receive from this program has really helped me be a better troubleshooter be better preventative maintenance, because if you can kind of understand from a ground up how a turbine generates its power, how these systems work, how the electronics are supposed to work, you get a map for how it's supposed to be performing. And if it's deviating from that map, you know where to start targeting for your troubleshooting. And then, as he said, it looks good on you, right? If you can get a turbine running faster, then you're gonna look great. Your boss just wants to see that thing generating power, because that's what the client wants, and then that's what the homes in Ontario want too. So this program has really given me the basic knowledge that has allowed me to be able to do that. And as he mentioned, I've been given the first 2 major rounds of training through my company within the first 8 months, and looking to specialize as well within the company to really look at major components.
That's awesome. All right, where will you work? I got a map I got off the Canwea website. This is some of the information I always get off of. It's Canadian Wind Energy Association. They're a great resource if you're ever interested in wind and kind of want to know where the wind is, what's happening in Canada, how are the wind farms working, some quick facts. You can always reference that website. It's Canwea. But on this map, it just shows the different provinces and how much energy is being produced in each province. I have a few provinces highlighted only to show that a few different reasons why I have them. So in Ontario, I show a 5,076 megawatts, and Quebec at 3,882. The numbers aren't on right now. But basically, those two provinces, they have a very large wind base. So all the wind farms are already installed there. They have a lot of wind base for maintenances. So if you want to be a home-based technician or a travel technician doing services and maintenances, those two provinces have a major amount of work ahead of them every single year. Saskatchewan and Alberta I have circled as well. Those two provinces have a lot of development going on right now. They're going to be building, almost doubling up on their outputs in the next 1 to 3 years. So those two provinces, if you're looking to be a project technician, that would be more of your route you'd want to go if you're looking to get into that type of area. That being said, you have an opportunity to go pretty much any province or territory you want. Within reason, you can go anywhere. I know there's jobs right now in Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Quebec. There's lots in Alberta with the development. There's a few in Ontario that I was just at a conference yesterday. They're looking for technicians right now. If you are looking to get hired on right out of school, this program will allow you to have a job offer before you finish your last day of school. If you're willing to travel and apply yourself, I have no doubt that you guys will get into a company. I think I had two students last year before our last day that did not have a job offer on the table. So that just goes to show you how much need there is for this industry. There's a lot of need. In the summer, in August, there's at least 6 to 7 jobs I was asked for. If I had any students remain in the program, there was nothing. I didn't have anybody. I forwarded the information off to our graduates, but nobody even responded to me, and everybody's happy to working away. So it's amazing how much work there is. And if you want to get into a job right out of work, and good paying job, this is the program for you.
Yeah, my manufacturer, Enercon, hired 3 of our students in one go. So we went and 3 of us started right with Enercon right out of school.
Yeah. Just to show a couple faces, you've seen mine already. I'm the program coordinator of the program. I teach quite a few of the courses through the program. Matt McTaggart, he is a full-time professor here, and he teaches a majority of the courses as well. So you'll see our faces quite a bit. Chris Offshack, he teaches a few of the wind electrical program courses as well as electronic courses. He's quite a bit on there as well. So if you ever do want to reach out to any of us, I'm sure I can give you their contact information as well. Just so you know, Matt McTaggart, he went to school with me, so we're both graduates of the program at the same time. We both worked with the same company for a short period of time before kind of moving in separate directions. I went with Siemens Gamesa, which is a manufacturer, as I mentioned prior, and he went with Vestas, a manufacturer. So we started working as competitors in the same industry. So it was kind of interesting. He came on board last fall. So it's interesting how it all circled back, and we're both working out of the same office now. So it's really interesting that way. Chris Hofschak, again, he was another graduate of the program in our exact year. He's been teaching at the college, I think, since 2013 or 14, and as a part-time instructor, as well as he was developing and consulting for a company that made smaller size turbines, 50 to 100 kilowatt size turbines, which is really interesting. And he's got lots of experience in that, in engineering with electrical systems. So all three of us, we teach here, and we're all graduates of the program. So you can just see the different opportunities that you can get over time. This industry is a very young industry, so the opportunities are endless to move around. Someone that has 10 years of experience in this industry is a senior, which is, you can't say that for oil and gas or any type of high generation other than maybe solar. You can't have somebody that has 10 years in they're experienced technicians. So it's really interesting, and you're still in a very young industry where it's growing and there's so much opportunities.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite parts about this program is Ryan was in the industry just years ago. Matt, I mean, heck, 2 years ago he was up there working on turbines. So all this information that you're getting from these teachers are extremely relevant. They know what they're doing, and they were successful and at their companies. And then Chris is, like he said, this guy's really smart, really good guy to learn from. Basically designed or helped design the turbine, and we have one of the models that he helped design in the classroom that we get to play with to see how actual these turbines work, their control systems and everything.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I'm somebody that always wants to stay relevant. So come summertime, if there's opportunities out there, I will take a bit of a summer leave and go to different companies. I work for a contract company.
Yeah, you were putting up turbines the semester that I was like in between my 2 years. Yeah, you went and
worked on a construction site with actually a summer student as well. So it was very interesting to do that.
That guy works with me right now. Boy,
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
We're going to briefly go over the academic year and how it looks. This would be your first year. I'll probably let Mike, I'll bring up one of the highlights for him, or a couple of the highlights for him for the courses. This is how it looks. You will notice that the first 3 semesters are very electrical intense. This program covers all of your industrial electrician schooling, as well as you have an opportunity to challenge with the College of Trades, all of it for your construction maintenance electrician, your rural and domestic electrician, or your industrial electrician ticket. So all your schooling can be applied in this, which is extremely beneficial to a lot of companies and students that may want to go into an electrician role. And you don't like wind, you're afraid of heights, you can still be an electrician and you have the schooling still. So that's something to really make sure that you take home. But if you want to pick out a couple of your courses that you enjoyed, you'll have better.
Yeah, so as he was saying here, the courses are very electrical based, which I found extremely interesting because I think electricity is very cool, I guess, for lack of a better term. So I've always found that interest in that. And it's kind of one of the reasons why I went into this program, is because I knew that the schooling was going to cover everything that I would need school-wise in order to find myself into an apprenticeship to be an electrician. So for example, electronics 1, 2, and 3 there, you got to do some really interesting things with small electronics. You got to use breadboards to create simple circuits. For example, we designed and created a converter there to turn AC into DC to charge our phone. So it was a pretty neat little circuit that we gotta put up there. And if I was brave enough, I would have plugged my phone right into it. So those are fantastic courses. I found instrumentation also was very relevant to everything that we're doing here. So I find that particular program was quite interesting as well. And we also got a little bit of a base for installing and wiring regular circuit stuff that you see in your house, which also kind of tickled my fancy. I always found them very, very interesting. And you get to work on real good learners here. We were able to create motor circuits. We actually have a whole set of learners in the classroom that allow us to mock up a turbine control system. So we get to measure the wind speed using anemometers, which will feed into an interface where we can actually see what the wind speed is at the time, what wind direction is as well. And all these control systems are hooked up through relays right into a human interface that you can actually interestingly play with. So all in all, you get to be very hands-on in all the courses, and I was never bored, and that's one of the things that I really enjoy about it. Even in theory classes, the theory teachers are constantly doing experiments for you to really highlight some of these lessons that you need to learn. And electricity feels like magic sometimes, and they really make it look like that when you're learning about it.
Awesome. Just a note before we go to the next slide to show third and fourth semester. Summer opportunities from May to August between your second and third semester. Many industry partners, and it's a growing demand for summer opportunities in the industry. So we put you through one of the companies, Team One Academy. They actually donated their time and trainers to come in and provide you with a climb training certificate, which will allow you to do some summer training in the summer months. So some companies like Siemens Gamesa, Enbridge, those companies are looking for summer students to come on and work over the summer to provide that knowledge to you guys, as well as help out the demand for the summer. There's a lot of work in the summer in wind industry, and that's where the major work happens. So a few extra hands definitely goes a long way. And if you're looking to get some experience between, it not only helps you academically when you come back in the third semester, but also puts some money in your pocket as well. It's one of those opportunities that you'll have once you go through the first year.
And there's opportunities at the college as well. I was a bursary student with the actual program, so I was hired by SLC's wind program to kind of work on those learners that I mentioned, help Ryan with anything that he needed around, and was able to gain some really valuable troubleshooting experience while I was here.
You did a good job too. So third and fourth semester, you already kind of touched on it. Third semester is again a lot of electronics, but you do get into a little bit of mechanical systems, which you'll be hooking up drivetrains. You'll understand what gear ratios are and why you have gear ratios in a lot of the turbines, as well as types of alignments to make sure that you have those rotating parts coming from the turbine that's rotating, spinning up to a very high speed. They have to be aligned in a very, very accurate way, so you get to learn a little bit about alignment and shafts in the turbine. Fourth semester, mostly all wind related. There's some electrical, but it's all wind based. This is where it all ties together, and this is where students go from, why are we learning about electricity if I want to be a wind technician? You're going to go, wow, there's a lot of information we learned over the first 3 semesters that's all tying in all at the same time. And I'm sure Mike can talk a little bit better about it than me, because I'm the one providing the information. Mm-hmm. But when I took the program many years ago, I found the same way.
Yeah, it's extremely cohesive, this program. It kind of all builds upon itself, and it's exactly like you said. There's a few different courses where you're kind of like scratching your head. You're like, how could this relate to wind? And then you kind of come to like an epiphany in the fourth semester where you're like, oh, okay. And then you start drawing from your knowledge from these previous courses, and it all ties together extremely well. I remember you and I, the colleagues, like my fellow students and I, were talking about that in the last semester. We felt that this was a really well designed program where you can learn easily, and without. You got to do a lot of the work yourself, but they certainly guide you extremely well along the way.
Awesome. And just to show you, I put a little picture of Mike there after fourth semester. That's what you'll be.
Yeah, you can turn into me when you're done.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen.
So do SLC grads get jobs? I think I've already stated that pretty good already, but yeah, it's 100%. If you're willing to travel, you have a driver's license is a main thing. A lot of companies are looking for someone that has a good driving record. If you don't, try to fix that up as best you can. There are some companies that will have allowances to let you get into the company if you write a certain letter or certain things like that, if you do have some type of implications on your driver's license. But besides that, it's so much demand for work. I have a career day event coming, and I have 14 companies coming for our graduates in the middle of February, and they are looking to interview and hire on all of our students. So it's such an awesome feeling for the students to know that, wow, there's 13 different companies coming to this event. Like 13, that's a lot of companies for a smaller program. And they're traveling 5 hours just to come here to see the students. So they really do appreciate the program and what it does for the industry.
Yeah, and it's a really great job too. I mean, I've been at it 8 months, and I can see myself having a good career in wind. Like I can get into more specifics about what I do on every day. If you guys have some questions about it, please shoot. But I found this job fantastic. A lot of fun, very interesting. There
are a few testimonials up here. Can I zoom this in?
No.
Okay.
They'll have the recording though, so they can reference.
They can reference it. So this just goes to show you, there's a few testimonials I was able to pull back from other employers that have hired on our students. They are extremely happy with our graduates. I'm always asking for the critical feedback of where we can do better, right? We're always trying to be better, and most of the time is just keep going the way you're going. It's great. There are changes in the technology that we might have to adapt to and stuff like that, but for the most part, all of the employers are extremely happy with the fundamental base that the student has when they're coming onto the wind farm for the first time. There are a few students as well that have tested that this program has changed their lives just because they're able to get out of debt so quickly out of school and then just advance in their life so well and so quickly. And it's extremely good to hear from my perspective, just to have that feeling of our program is really worth it.
Yeah.
Postgraduate opportunities. As I mentioned prior, there's opportunities to be an electrician, go into automation. If you feel like wind you're getting a little tired, your knees are getting a little tired, you don't want to climb anymore, there's opportunities to be an electrician, go into PLC control, automation. I know a few of my colleagues that they're working at different automation plants, just working on PLCs strictly. So there's always opportunities going different ways there. As well as, like I mentioned before, this is a young industry. Looking at specializations as troubleshooters, high voltage lines. You can go into, you can become technical field advisors. You could be technical support. You could be in more of a leadership management role. It's really endless, and to become a manager in this industry, because it's so young, you could be there in 3, 4, 5 years if you're looking to be in that type of a role.
Yes.